Hello, beautiful souls. I am just jumping on quickly as I wanted to share something. So I just went live over on my other business, Into the Fire Mystery School. It was my first live on there. And hi, how you going? Hello. And it was my first live over on there. And I spoke about the process of death and rebirth and my own personal experience with it. And also just some information as well to help anyone that's kind of going along their own journey of death and rebirth at this point in time too. And it got me thinking. It got me thinking about the over 2 years ago when I started Enchanted by Soul, and how the decision to do that was massively intuition and soul. That's what it was. When I went through that process of my death and rebirth, I really did have another option. I didn't have an option. I'm telling you, I had zero option on what was happening in my reality at that time. The ending of my 15-year relationship, like friends disappearing, not all of them. I got some beautiful ones obviously still around. And with just all of my childhood wounds coming up, working through the things that I needed to work on. I had no choice over any of that was going on. That was coming up for me, regardless if I was kicking and screaming about it or not. But leaving that situation, leaving that old life, and in that transition period between the death and the rebirth, so the closing of one part of your life and then the door opening to the brand new, we have the transition period, which can also be known as the void. And in this period, I did have choices. I had many. It was really overwhelming though, because there was so much uncertainty. And so I could have very much easily thought to myself, oh, I'll just go and get myself a reception job. Now, there is nothing wrong with reception work, by the way. I've done it in the past. But the thought of that to myself, because I was a stay-at-home mum for many years before my relationship broke down. So it wasn't like I had like some other career or anything like that. And so the thought of doing that was, without not to sound too dramatic, was like soul destroying. I was like, I can't do that. Like, oh my God, my family was like saying, look, like you need to do this because they're looking out for me, but it's like, you need to go and get yourself a job. You need to do this and this and that. My intuition was like, no, you don't. There's another way. There is something else here for you to do. But I had a choice. I have free will. We as humans do have free will. And so I found myself at a crossroads. Do I go the norm of what I've always fought against, because I've always fought against the norm, okay? Or do I go in a different direction? Do I go where I'm probably going to get some backlash from family? Do I go in a direction where I might get a few judgment, like from other people? Or do I go the easier, okay, it's not to say it's going to be easy, but like an easier route, which would just be to go with what other people wanted me to do? And I had done enough of my own healing at this point to know that if I chose that path, I would be incredibly unhappy. And so with the process of choosing this path, okay, the path that I'm on, came fear, came self-sabotage, came imposter syndrome, came uncertainty, came the unknown, came feeling at times I was going crazy. Like, is this really right for me? Is this really what I should be doing? But every time I sat with myself and I connected in, the intuition just had its beautiful, quiet knowing of keep going. More will appear. More will be shown to you. You will see more of what is to come. The next step will come. The next step will come. And so it did. It really did. The universe brought different synchronicities into my life that I was like signs that I would just follow, like the intuitive hits of just like, I need to follow that. I don't know why, but I'm going to follow that. I got led to certain people who came into my life for a short period of time that helped me through that transition period. And all of these little intuitive hits that I followed led me to the path that I'm on now. And when I had an idea of like, okay, I don't want to go down that path, I want to go here. What the fuck do I do? Right? Like, what do I do? I knew my soul was calling for more. I knew I was meant to step into some sort of spiritual work. I was super into herbalism, still am. I'm studying herbalism at the moment. And I thought to myself, I actually really want to start a business on creating teas and products and like really witchy stuff and then selling that. That was my idea. I came up with a name and it was going to be Inner Magic. I had created an Instagram page on that. And this was all stirring up creativity within me, which was great, but yet still didn't feel in full alignment. And then eventually it transitioned to, no, like you're not going to do that. Though I will be selling products at some point further down in my herbal studies, absolutely. And I cannot wait for that. And I've already got my name for that, etc. But it's a whole other story. Okay. But at that time, it wasn't time. So it was an idea that would come into fruition most likely if I choose it to, right, down the track. At that time, it wasn't for me. And so I knew, though, I was like getting led to really kind of come out of the spiritual closet and really start to share my gifts. Okay, and we all have them. I constantly tell people there are no chosen ones. We all have intuitive and psychic abilities. We all have our own unique gifts that we share with the world, our own soul gifts, right? All of us have our own unique ones. And so I knew I was meant to step into that work. And of course, the universe, which I just spoke about all of this on the other live that I did on the Into the Fire Mystery School page. But long story short, a bunch of people were brought into my life. I got a mentor that I went and saw. I did her workshops every week for 6 months, which was in person at a local metaphysical store. How I was led to that, the synchronicities behind that still blow my fucking mind. It's wild, okay, how I got led and found that. And then did that. Felt then it was time to leave there. And by this stage, I had moved out of the home that I shared with my ex-husband for we'd been together for 15 years, but that home specifically for almost 10 years, and stepped out of that and got my own place. First time being on my own since the age of 17. I did briefly move out when I was 17 and then ended up coming back interstate and moving back in with parents. But anyway, another story. And so to this stage I had done that, and then, but in between that process of finishing those workshops and stepping into Enchanted by Soul, which I did launch just right before I'd actually moved into my new place. And in that period, I had visitations from spirit. I was being told what I needed to step into, but however, had free will. I didn't have to. Again, I could have chosen this path, but my soul was like, no, I need to go here. So, but this stage, I asked spirit to bring in the people that would help me. And I trusted that. I didn't try and figure out who or how or what or when. I just put it out there and I trusted it. And of course, the beautiful Rachel Ellis, who I did her, at that time, she had a course running on how to launch a spiritual business. And that was for a 3-month course. I ended up then working with her down the track for 6 months, one-on-one business coaching. She's freaking incredible, by the way, Rachel Ellis. And then through that period though, right? So I went from this name Inner Magic, which didn't really feel in alignment at all. It felt a little bit generic, to be honest with you. Okay? It just didn't feel right. And then all of a sudden, Enchanted by Soul came in. And I was like, okay, yeah, that feels right. And I started this process. So initially thinking I'm going to be doing products with like herbalism. No. All of a sudden I'm coming out of the spiritual closet and I'm like, oh, by the way, I read tarot, which I've been reading for many, many years. Okay, oracle cards since I was 17, tarot since I was around 27. So I stepped out and I came into this world. And at the beginning, I knew I was like, yep, I'm meant to do tarot, meant to do readings for the collective and personal readings. But however, still felt this inner knowing of like, that won't be your forever though. It's not what you're here to always do. It was almost like another form of my initiation into where I was heading. And so with time, I decided that I got the call to step into mentorship, and I was doing one-to-one mentorship with women on how to open and activate psychic and intuitive abilities, okay? And it's the huge part of the reason why I'm so big on intuitive development, which is why it's included in my membership for women, of the Into the Fire membership, is because it was a huge part of my transformation. When we open and activate our own intuitive and psychic abilities, we activate something within our soul and we create a stronger connection to the soul. And when we are connected to the soul on such a deep level, meaning that we know the core essence of who we are, we know who we are to the core, and the core essence of who we are is our soul as what it dropped into this vessel as when we first came into the world. Before the conditioning, before the childhood experiences, before the programming, before adult teenage experiences that kind of shifted and shaped us. Before all of that. And at some point, and this might not be everyone's journey, and that's okay. But I find, obviously, people, I feel like in this community, it is very much like a part of their journey. They'll have their own unique path, but it's definitely part of their journey. Is that waking up, right? That waking up to the illusions, the waking up to the programming, the waking up to our own inner shit that we need to work on, right? The waking up to old wounds that we start to uncover. And this is the shadow work. This is working through that, like just pulling all of that out, clearing all of that out, which then creates a very clear channel, right? To our intuition, to our soul. I consider two different things, right? But regardless, to our intuition, to our soul. And then this is where we get those really clear messages, where we don't have to connect to spirit team, spirit guides, other spirits, other entities, whatever, right? We can just go to that direct line. We can go directly to source. We're connected there, however you want to look at it. It doesn't really matter. Everyone's different. But when we have that deep connection, that's when we go, we trust the path. We trust the path. And we're then able to really step out in the world as our liberated, authentic self and go, here I am. I know myself to the core. So no matter what, right, I can meet people, and I have met people, right, and I can meet people who think what I do is bullshit, right, who roll their eyes at it, or who go like, okay, she channels spirit, whatever, like, or I can't believe people pay for that, or like whatever, right? And I don't get triggered by that. I don't get upset about that, because I understand that everyone's on their own journey. Everyone views the world through their own lens, which is beautiful, right? That's how it should be. But I know the experiences that I've had, and I don't need someone to tell me if they're real or not. And I don't need someone to tell me or give me permission to do this work, or give me permission to do the sorts of spiritual practices and rituals that I choose to do that benefit and support me within my own life and on my journey. So by developing, to just kind of shift away from that for a moment. So by developing that connection to the soul, the world is your oyster. You will step into so much magic. You will listen to every little intuitive hit, even if there's fear. Because when you connect, you feel that deep inner knowing that's just calm. It's a calm yes. Or if it's a no, it's a calm no. Okay? It's not like it's a, don't do that, oh my God, don't do that. And like so much fear and anxiety. It's like, unless you're going to put yourself in danger, different form of intuition, different form of a sense is there. But it's very inner knowing, that deep quiet. It's just quiet. It's yes or it's a no. It's a go this way, or it's go and talk to that person. Yes, you're on the right path. Keep going, keep going, keep going. And eventually you'll start to see the bigger picture. And while you don't have everything still, and it's okay, we're not meant to, which is what makes it exciting, right? And if we did know everything that was to come, we wouldn't really do the work that we need to evolve into the person that can hold that frequency of what is to come and for what way we are to step into and experience. So that's why it's important that we really don't know everything, okay? But when we can start to say yes to the intuition, And we can start to say yes to that. Oof. Just magic. So much magic. And this is the power of the intuition. And this is the power of connecting to the soul. And how can I put this into more tangible ways of because we can word things as magic and let it go and surrender and it's amazing, da-da. Okay, great. But how can I put this into more tangible? So let me have a think here. Okay. I can just do it like through experience, right? So by listening to the intuitive hits, I was able to go down a path that was in alignment and not a path that other people wanted me to follow. I finally said, no more. I'm not going to live that life that other people want me to live because I feel trapped in that. I can't be put in a box. I can't. It makes me feel heavy. It makes me feel sick. And it was making me physically sick. When I was not listening to my intuition, this is something tangible of what happens when you don't listen. For me, and this is like even in my gene keys, if you're familiar with gene keys, what keeps me healthy is listening to my intuition and following it. When I get in trouble is when I'm not listening to it. And I can think back to 3 times in my life where I was not listening to my intuition when I got physically sick. My first one was at 17 when I say that was my first dark night of the soul. I was in a really abusive relationship. I had dropped out of school. I had left home. I was in a really abusive relationship, really toxic working environment. Everything was telling me to get out of there. And I was ignoring it. I heard it time and time again, but I was ignoring it. And I hit rock bottom. And I got so sick. And I remember one time hopping on the bus after finishing work. I was living in Sydney. And I got onto the bus after finishing work to take me home. And I was like passing in and out of consciousness. People around me must have thought I was high as F on drugs. I wasn't. I was just so sick. Turns out I was extremely, extremely anemic. That's what was wrong with me. And so that was one time. Okay. Then there's a pattern here. The next time was before I was close to 26 and I was engaged and I was to get married like within a few months. And my body was screaming at me that no, this is not for you. This is not for you. I got so sick that my period stopped. I was like, the doctors were like, are you stressed? And I was like, not really. Like, I had no stress in planning the wedding or anything like that. Everything was seemed like it was falling into place. But I was like, this isn't for me. I even had that conversation with my mom and, she very lovingly, and I understand why, I was like, no, like this is the next step. You've got 2 kids. This is the logical next step. And I'm like, oh yes, of course it is. Of course it is. And on the day I was like sick, I ended up obviously getting really a lot of deficiencies and all of that, hence also why my period stopped. And that was another time. And of course, I've told the story before, but for those who don't know it, when I was walking down the aisle with my dad, this masculine voice appeared on the outside here and said, this very deeply, this is not forever. And I'm walking like down the aisle of a Catholic church, so you can just envision of how that would have been had I said something, okay? But, and I remember taking a deep breath and going, okay. And I've been asked time and time again, do I regret going through with that? No. I'm not going to sit here and say, it was all bad. There was plenty of great times, right? Plenty. And this is the father of my children, someone who I do genuinely care about. But we weren't right for each other long term. But I learned so much through that process of those 8 years of being married. I learned so much through that process that there is no way I actually don't regret, I don't regret going through with it, is what I'm trying to say. So that was another time. Then it was when the breakdown of the relationship was happening. And for a long time, my soul was telling me, I was getting given little different exit points, and too much fear, too much of the unknown. And I was so disconnected from myself, I just couldn't. Then that's when the big death and rebirth that happened that I've spoken about before, where a lot of stuff went down, and it was just a huge crumbling of everything I've ever known, and very, 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 very painful, but something at the same time I'm so thankful for now, the other side of it, so thankful for. And that was when I got sick again. And this time I lost a lot of weight in a really short period of time and became really anemic again. I had so many deficiencies. Doctors were like, what the hell is going on? Have you been sick? Have you had the flu? Like, what's happening? It even came back on a test that my kidneys were low functioning. And that took like 9+ months to build my health back. And because my health was so bad, I went from doing yoga 6 to 7 times a week. And I couldn't even go and do a yin class, which is just stretching. I was out of breath just walking to my car from my front door. So this was the intuition, the soul saying this isn't for you. It's because I kept ignoring the intuition. So this is something I thought about recently, and I looked back and I was like, wow, like I can pinpoint the times in my life where I've ignored it in a really, really important thing. So I don't just mean like ignoring it when it's telling me to turn left or go down a different road versus the other one, and then I ignore it and I got behind traffic. I'm talking like big moments in my life where I ignored it is when I got so sick. And this is interesting because it's in my gene keys on like what keeps me healthy, which I only just recently found out. And I thought that was really fascinating. So this is the power of the intuition. These are tangible things that can happen when you ignore it. That might not be everyone, okay, but that might be for some people to experience the same things. And then when I listen to it, different situation. I'm vibrant. My energy is high. It doesn't mean my life's perfect, but it's like, or I have everything figured out, but I feel so in alignment and I trust the path more. I go, okay, like, I don't know where I'm going next. Like towards the end of last year, around October, I felt really lost within my business. I was like, I don't know, like what I want to do next. I'm not really feeling in full alignment with what I'm currently doing. I received some guidance around it, and I just got told to relax. I had received the message back in August of last year about doing a membership. I didn't feel like the time was right, and it wasn't. I had to go through an initiation to be able to finally step into the world of having this membership in the mystery school that I'll be adding more to down the track. But it was a period of where the guidance was to get creative, shift your focus to somewhere else, and just keep going. Don't worry. Because don't get me wrong, I enjoyed doing readings. I enjoyed them. But I could just feel that the time was ending, but I didn't know what was next. And that was scary. Because it was like, well, that's part of my income. What the fuck is next? Like, you got to think about it like that, okay? As much as I love this work and I do it to serve and I do it to give back. And it's because it's my mission, it's my life's work, which will continue to grow and evolve. But, you know, I got 2 mouths to feed. I got kids I got to look after. I've got a roof I've got to put over their head. So of course, you know, like that comes into play with that when it comes to finances. And so the thought of like letting that go was scary. But again, tapping into the intuition, the soul's like, no, you can do it. And so with the months that came, I was like, okay, it's getting closer. And I actually thought it would be later in the year, but I stopped it earlier. So with the following of my intuition, the tangible things that have come out of that is doing work that I love for the first time in my life. Feeling fulfilled. Feeling liberated because I'm my authentic self and I'm out as who I am. I'm not wearing a mask. I'm not bypassing my stuff. I'm not escaping. I'm in my reality. I'm in my body. And I'm connected, okay? And please don't put me on a pedestal because I ain't perfect. I always say, I'll just point the fuck out of you because I'm not perfect, right? But these are the tangible things, you know, a beautiful partnership. Like for the first time ever, a healthy partnership for the first time ever in my life. Beautiful soul sisters, sisterhood, and gorgeous humans within this community. Right? Getting to share what I love, getting to channel for the collective, getting to do these collective readings. I love doing them. I'm going to continue doing them for as long as I am meant to. Okay, as long as I am meant to. And it brought me a brand new life. So when I was at that crossroads, which I've been at before with other things where I could choose different paths, and the one at 17, when I finally got out of that toxic situation, I ended up moving interstate and back home. I had 2 choices. Keep going down this way and it's going to be fucking really self-destructive and it's going to get worse, or go this way. And it was actually through being gifted a oracle deck, my first ever oracle deck, that when I used it that night and I asked it a question and what came out just blew my mind. But also then all of a sudden I had like all this information coming flooding in. It was like everything that I had as a child was reactivated again. And that was just, that's part of how it was for me. But again, I was at that crossroads, and I chose the way that my soul was calling me towards, and it was the path I was meant to go down, right? It brought me 2 beautiful children. It brought me new connections. It brought me a really like a long-term relationship that taught me so much about myself. It brought me to where I am now is continue initiation, right? Continue initiation, continue death and rebirth, and continue shedding. And then so when like I spoke about before, about being at that crossroads again, of going down the road of where everyone else wanted me to go. My family was telling me to go, where when I was saying I want to go this way, I'm being told I'm crazy if I'm going this way. What are you doing? You're putting yourself in financial jeopardy. You're doing, all this stuff, right? Because it's so unconventional. But yet then Spirit brought people in that were telling me, no, you can totally do that. Absolutely, you can do that, right? So brought in the like-minded souls that would then help me along that. But choosing this path, listening to my intuition, following every intuitive hit, no matter how small or how scared I got, tune in, could feel that inner knowing, kept going. And I'm so thankful that I chose, because I chose it. I chose to follow the intuition. I chose to follow the soul. I can't tell you if that's the easier path or not. I feel like this one would have been the easier path because I would have had more support with it from like family and even other people too. But it would have been the path had I chose it that I in full transparency, I think just would have made me incredibly depressed. I really, really, really feel that. I would have, again, been lost, feeling stuck, feeling trapped in a life that wasn't mine, living for others, doing all of that stuff, right? Wearing masks, keeping up walls, still stuck in my victim consciousness, still stuck in my abandonment wound, all of that. But then this path also wasn't the easiest at all. That came with its challenges. That came with the challenge of being seen, of working through that persecution wound, that witch wound, as some may call it, and just owning what I do, not being afraid to tell people what I do, not being afraid anymore to say I'm psychic, I channel, I am really gifted at seeing into people's shadows and helping bring them to the light and holding the space so that they can do their own healing with it, right? Because I'm not here to rescue anyone, not here to save anyone. But I'm really good at holding space. And the reason why I'm so good at that, while I've always been told I've been a great listener, but the reason why I'm so good at holding space is because of the life experience I've had. And it's because of the choices and decisions that I've made that put me through big major death and rebirth, right? So even though the death was not my choice, and the universe definitely made that one happen with the last one that I had, it was the rebirth that was my choice on how that was going to look for me, in a way, right? I couldn't fully see how it was going to look. There were going to be different twists and turns that surely would have been divinely orchestrated. But however, I got to choose this path or this path, and I chose this one. That's the power of your intuition. When you learn to listen and to trust the intuition, the little tiny intuitive hits, it's not always a big loud message. It's not always a big vision. It's not always this clear yes, do this and then this will happen. Sometimes that can come through, but majority of the time it's really, really, really quiet. And it's just a whisper, and it's a little clue. It's like a breadcrumb, which annoys me about spirit sometimes. It's like they drop little breadcrumbs. But if you just listen to the soul and listen to your intuition over anybody else, okay, over a psychic, over a reading, just listening to you, your soul, and making the decision for yourself in what direction you want to go, no matter the uncertainty, no matter the fears, no matter the worries, no matter the concerns, you will win, because your soul will never lead you astray. Never. And I can say that with full fact because I've lived it. So for me, in my view, through my lens, that's full fact. Okay? Now, this doesn't mean you have to go make some big life decision. Mine was get a divorce. Mine was to go in a completely different direction. That doesn't have to be someone else's, right? it doesn't have to be some big thing. And I definitely wouldn't recommend like you like say to yourself, fuck, I hate my job, I'm going to quit tomorrow, but have nothing else land up in place, and meaning that you could put yourself into a financial sticky situation and create stress for your nervous system, put you in survival mode. Don't do that. But ask spirit, ask your soul, ask your higher self to help you, to be like, okay, I'm really not liking where I am in life right now, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a business, whether it's work, whatever it is. You might just be just feeling it, right? I don't really like where I am right now, and I want things to shift and I want things to move, but I don't know what to do. Send me a sign. Show me the next step. And when it's presented, trust it. It'll never be like just quit everything and then you'll be fine. Spirit's got your back. They're not going to put you in a position that's going to really fuck shit up for you, okay? Like, that's kind of what we do to ourselves, you know. Done it many times for myself. And that's okay. We learn lessons. It's a part of the process. But they're not going to do that. So by asking for that help, the next step will be shown to you. And trust it. Don't go looking for it. Don't go searching for it. Just trust it will appear. It might come instantly. It might come in a few days, a few weeks, a few months. It might even take a little longer. But it will eventually come. Honestly, it shouldn't be any more than a few months, okay? Especially when it's like a small step. But however, everyone's different. But by having that shown to you and then just trusting your instincts and going, okay, that's the next step. This is going to help me get out of the situation I'm in. Okay, great. I'm going to take that. And the next one shown, and the next one shown, and the next one shown. Exactly what happened to me, right? Exactly what happened to me. This, again, I was going to say it, is the power of the intuition. It's the power of getting to know your soul. It's the power of transformation, of death, of rebirth. But when we have gone through the death, which is painful, which is hard, which is not easy, but the rebirth isn't quite here yet, as in we haven't fully been shown the door, or the door's not open where we can walk through into the next chapter, into the next life, you know, all of that yet. We have that transition, the void. And this is uncomfortable. This is uncomfortable territory because there is unknown, there is uncertainty, there is fear, there is all of that, okay? And this is where it can feel like darkness. And I don't mean evil, I just mean darkness, meaning that you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, but you need to navigate this yourself. And by navigating it, you learn on how to use your senses, because you can't see, right, with your human visual eyes. That you can't see that metaphorically. So you have to learn how to use your senses, your intuitive abilities, which is why I'm huge on developing your intuitive and psychic abilities. Huge on it. Because it will connect you to your soul. It's not about having to go out and connect to spirit and to receive messages for your future and all of that. You can do that, and that's great, and it's a fun part of it. But the magic of it, the beauty of it, is the connection you gain to yourself through the process. Because it comes with shadow work. In order to create a clear channel for yourself, you gotta do the inner work. You gotta do it. But you can have fun along the way, because who wants to do it without fun? That just sounds horrible, and I have no interest in that. So you get to have fun along the way, which is what I love about the membership that I've created. There's intuitive development, there's shadow work, there's community, there's fun, we get to laugh, we get to do lives where we learn to connect to ourselves, but at the same time we bring fun into it, okay? Because if it's all serious, that just sounds fucking boring and no path that I want anything to do with, right? And so there's so much more in there, and if you are interested, if you feel called to it, then I recommend that you can DM me if you want more information, if you want to chat to me personally about it, and to see if it's something for you. But also you can just head to the link in my bio or head to intothefiremysteryschool.com. There's a frequently asked questions section on there, everything that's included. You can learn a bit more about my story as well, with like how I birthed it and how I got here, if you so choose to. But it's just trust yourself through your own process. This is what I really want people to learn, is to learn to trust themselves. When you trust yourself wholeheartedly, like radical self-trust, doesn't mean we always get it right. It's okay. But if you have radical self-trust, it makes things a lot easier, right? I find that people who really struggle to trust themselves and they lacked a lot of discernment, they can be easily manipulated, and it's not their fault. It's nothing to for anyone to be ashamed of, but they can be easily manipulated, or they go into people pleasing. And I know people who have been people pleasers in the past, and it's affected with over time because it's a form of self-abandonment. So with over time, it's caused them some really unfortunate mental health issues. Okay, and so this is why we do the work. This is why we work through our childhood wounds. This is why we get honest with ourselves. This is why we delve into the shadows and we get curious about what's coming up for us, because I want to be really clear, it's not about diving into the shadows and trying to uncover something that's not coming up for you. Don't go ahead and do that. That will just cause trouble for you. It's about getting curious about what's coming up for you. It's about getting curious about what's coming up for you. And then, again, using the power of your intuition to explore it. So whether that means that maybe you get led to listen to a podcast or read a book or talk to somebody, okay? You get led down a certain space of like a healing modality. I've done everything from Western therapy, seeing a psychologist, to craniosacral, to energy healers, okay? And then just doing my own, because there are times on our journey where we need the external help, and then there are times where we can just do it on our own. But again, it is nice to have a sisterhood around you. It is nice to have support around you through that journey, because no one's here to heal us. No one's here to rescue us. No one's here to save us. And that's something that was probably one of my hardest lessons, or was probably one of my biggest illusions confronted to me when I was a little younger, okay? And realizing that. But that's powerful. But it doesn't mean that we have to do it alone, right? It doesn't mean that we can't have support or love and care around us. But it's our responsibility as adults to because look, if you have childhood trauma, childhood wounds, even like from your teen years, okay, or even from a adult situation, relationship, or something like that, you're not responsible for it. You didn't call it in. You didn't manifest it, okay? It's not your fault. As adults, though, it is our responsibility to work through it, to bring it to the light and to heal it, so that we can transmute it, so that we can transform, so that we can grow, so that we can evolve. And that's really, really, really powerful and really, really beautiful. But again, difficult, right? And can be painful. And that's why some people turn away from it. And that's okay. That's okay. There is no shame in that, all right? Everyone's on their own journey, own timeline, own path. And some will do the inner work, some will do the healing, some won't. And that's okay, right? Everyone's where they are. And everyone has that choice too. So that's kind of what I wanted to share with the power of following your intuition. It will lead you down the right path when it comes to healing, when you're stuck at a crossroad. Being able to tune in and to listen and to hear that will lead you to so much magic, okay? So much magic. And sometimes we just got to go first, and then the universe will catch us. It's like the full energy in tarot. It's new beginnings. It's taking a leap of faith. But like I mentioned before, it doesn't mean you have to take some big, radical, big move that's going to put you in a financial stress situation or just cause you to go into survival mode with the nervous system. We don't want to do that. But it can just be taking a leap of faith into the unknown by taking a small step and then allowing the next one to be shown. And then just take step after step after step after step. And then eventually you're going to reach the top of the mountain and you're going to see that view and you're going to feel good and you're going to feel great. And then when you get there, doesn't mean you can't enjoy the journey along the way, by the way. There'll be plenty of magical, beautiful moments. And it's not about trying to get somewhere because you think life will be better then. Life improves as you go along the journey, okay? But when you reach that place that you want to be in, where the reality you dreamed of is your reality, enjoy it. Be in the present with it. Don't get caught in the trap of going, okay, great, I'm here, love it, great, okay, but next thing. Be in the present. Enjoy what you have created for yourself. but also through the process of the transition between the death and the rebirth, and the process through all of it. At times difficult, yes, but don't forget to have fun. Don't forget to enjoy the beauty of it. Don't forget to have a lot of self-love and self-compassion. And I really want to just, again, reinforce that it's not about trying to reach a place because then you think you're going to be happy. Okay? It's about going through the process of the growth and the evolution of your soul, of you, the individual, the human, and freeing yourself from any of those limitations, the limiting beliefs, the people that hold you back, the childhood wounds, like whatever it is, the expectations of others, living for others, and you break free from that. That's where the joy is. That's where the happiness is. Regardless of what the external looks like, I have felt that joy and that happiness even when my external has looked like shit, because I was free in here. My soul was free. My soul is free. Okay? Even though the outside looked a bit crappy. At the moment, it's looking pretty good, which I'm enjoying, okay? And I'm trying not to get into that thing as well of like going to the next thing and just being in the present and allowing the next steps to be shown to me. And so when I mentioned before about being in that period last year, or late last year, about feeling a bit lost within my business, I gave myself time to get creative in other ways. I started my herbal studies. That allowed me to get more into my creativity. Kind of shifted my focus. Focused on the business with what I had to, it shifted my focus away from needing to know the next step. And then it came. Then it appeared. And then the membership that I was told I was going to be doing back in August of last year, which has then been, I had initiation for that after, turned into then creating a mystery school. Blows my fucking mind. There is no way I would have seen this for myself those 4 years ago, those even over 2 years ago when I started Enchanted by Soul. Never saw that for myself, never. I knew I'd step into teaching, but I didn't know on how that would look. It was mentorship. I still do mentorship, but then it's expanding and it's going into different territories. And I could not have envisioned that for myself. But had I not followed the intuition and the intuitive hits, I wouldn't have got there, right? So even if we get little off course, however you kind of want to look at it, there's so many ways we could go with that, but even if you feel like you get off course a little bit, that's okay, all right? That's okay. Just tune in, listen, learn from anything that you learn from that situation, and then redirect, okay? And when you're at that crossroads, you get a choice. I had that choice. Didn't have the choice of the death of that life, but I had a choice of where I could go next. So thank you to those who joined and who stayed on, and I'm glad that that has resonated with you, okay? Thank you. And I hope that you guys are well. And again, if you're interested in learning more about that membership for women, you can just click the link in my bio or head to intothefiremysteryschool.com. You can also follow the Instagram page because I'll be posting different things over there as well. And I'll be adding more to the mystery school with time. Next will be my intuitive tarot school. Okay, so learning on how to read tarot intuitively. It's a beautiful tool I've been using since I was 27. So goodness, 9 years now. And I absolutely love it. It's been incredibly helpful along my own journey, and with also connecting to my intuition and to my soul. It's just a great tool. Not that we need tools, okay? What we need is ourselves, really, and honestly, but tools do help, okay? They do help. So I send you guys love. Thank you for joining. I hope some of this story resonated. If it did, if you got something out of this, please feel free to share in the comments and let me know. I always love hearing from you guys. Feel free to shoot me a DM if you want to. Share this live if you feel guided to want to, and I'll talk to you guys soon.